Alright guys, we've got a new study that's come out on intermittent fasting. Well, not really intermittent fasting, but close. Let me explain. There are a lot of people out there who love intermittent fasting, and they love to tell you about it. It's kind of like asking about a CrossFitter or a vegan to talk about CrossFit or veganism. Intermittent fasters love to tell you how magical intermittent fasting is. And for some people, intermittent fasting works great. But it's probably not magic. Let me explain this new study. So this new study looked at intermittent energy restriction, which isn't quite the same thing as intermittent fasting, but they instructed people to, every other day, essentially consume under 500 calories a day, and then to equal that out on their other days, basically like higher calorie days. Now, if you're only getting 500 calories, you're probably gonna have to do like some prolonged fasting. But they basically, would you stop doing that?
What?
You're actually distracting me.
What?
You're like dancing and shit.
My bad.
It's alright. It's alright. Are you playing Panda Pop?
No, I'm just trying to adjust my balls because they're stuck to each other.
Oh, that's the word. Just reach down and grab them.
Alright, cool.
There you go. I know the struggle.
Cool.
Okay. Now that Gino's balls are adjusted, we'll continue with the video. So it's not exactly intermittent fasting, but when you're only getting 500 calories on a few days, you're probably going to have to go long periods without food. It's going to look pretty similar. They compared that with a protocol that just did continuous energy restriction, meaning they ate the same thing every day. The total calories consumed during the week were the same for both groups. Now they did this in free living subjects over a period of 6 months of weight loss, and then they moved them to weight maintenance for 6 months as well. They looked at weight loss, fat loss, body composition, measurements of health like blood lipids, and what they found was basically that both groups basically had the same outcome. Both groups lost weight, and there was no difference between groups. Actually, the continuous energy restriction actually lost a kilo more on average, but it wasn't statistically significant, which I'm not surprised. And so that just goes to show that there's no magical weight loss properties from like calorie cycling or even things like intermittent fasting. And this is in line with the other studies on intermittent fasting as well. They don't show differences in weight loss. Now, a few other studies have shown small improvements in insulin sensitivity compared to continuous dieting, but they didn't show that in this study. They didn't see any difference in health markers between the two groups. Both groups improved their health markers. What they did see was the intermittent energy restriction group reported that they were hungrier than the group that was continuously energy restricted. So that is interesting. When you look at intermittent fasting and intermittent energy restriction, there are studies showing people report feeling less hungry than people on continuous energy restriction and more hungry. I think that this is a very individual thing. And I talk about this in my book, Fat Loss Forever, that everybody has different things that will feel easy to them. For some people, low carb feels easy because they don't crave carbohydrate. They're cutting an entire food group out, and so they can create a calorie deficit through what they feel is an easy means. Other people hate low carb and find restricting fat easier. Other people find restricting time of eating easier. Depending on what you find to be the easiest form to create a calorie deficit is probably the best one to pick for you as an individual, but what's going to work best for creating that energy deficit is going to be different from person to person. Some people love intermittent fasting, some people do it and they don't like it. So what I want to impress upon you is that if anything, intermittent fasting or intermittent energy restriction seems to be just as good as continuous energy restriction for losing body fat. So if you like it better, then feel free to do it. It, however, is not magical, it's not going to produce more fat loss, and it's dubious as to whether or not it produces better health results. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, like it, share it, click the links in the description, buy some of my stuff, especially my new book, Fat Loss Forever. It was just an ebook, now we have hard copies. Click the link in the description. I'm out.